Zombie Popcorn, the official podcast of MarsCon 2012. Surviving the Zombie Apocalypse. Panel host, Alfredo Torres. Panel guest, Adam Seitz, Jason Bayless, Whitney Metzger, and Bob Price.
So we've got food, love, water. Has anybody here read a book called Everything You Ever Wanted to Know About Zombies by an author called Matt Moak? He discusses a lot about surviving an apocalypse and about different types of zombies. One of the things that he talks about is the rule of threes. You can survive 3 minutes without shelter. You can survive... You can survive 3 minutes without air, 3 hours without shelter, 3 days without water, 3 weeks without food. So the first thing that you would need would be
air.
Well, air you can't control. I mean, if there's no air, the first thing you need to do would be shelter, because assuming the apocalypse happens and you're not living in Fort Lauderdale, you're going to be pretty much, stuck with the elements. So one of the first things you need to do is have a plan as to where you're going to protect yourself physically from what's going around. The second thing that you need would be water, which Adam said. Why do you say other than 3 days without water? 3 days without water. How would you go about getting it? What would you do?
Well, I mean, first, before everything shuts down, just bottle as much water as you can in your own house until, like I say, if you have enough time to plan ahead and start bottling water or whatever. Other than that, if it's in the first stages of the outbreak and everyone's still kind of crazy, you could hopefully try and get to somewhere like a 7-Eleven or a Walmart or something and get like big jugs of water like that. I think Jason down there has a Camelback. I think we were joking about. That's always good to have to fill it up, and then you just got it right on the go.
What does anybody else think about water?
You fill a bathtub.
Huh?
You need to be able to purify it. I mean, if you're depending upon carrying it in a jug, that's weeks.
Yeah.
It's going to slow you down. And you don't know that if, say, you don't have shelter, you don't know if you're going to be fortified. You need to be able to purify it.
Right. One of the best things for purifying water is bleach. Which no. If it's I believe the formula is a capful for every gallon. It's just to the point where the water doesn't taste right. That's what you want.
You want it to smell like a swimming pool.
Yeah, you do. When you get to that point, the water is suitable for drinking. That's one of the most important things that I believe you're going to need. And you guys back me up on this. After the initial wave of the zombies taking over, I'd say within maybe a month, 3 weeks, a month, zombies become the last thing you're worried about. The things you're going to be worried about are disease, okay, humans, and water. Thank you. Disease, humans, and then comes the zombies. What do you guys think about that?
No, you're right. After and that's one of the great things about like those zombie scenarios is that the zombies is just another obstacle, albeit one that's walking around that's coming to get you. But they're just one more obstacle. And it's funny you were talking so much about water because I didn't even think of that. The assumption is that water is abundant and it's everywhere, and that goes away.
It does, and the importance of water can't be understated because it's essential to our livelihood. Yet it's so difficult to find pure when you're out there drinking, and if you come across water the first thing you say is you're thirsty, you're going to start drinking it. Yet the chance of it carrying disease, or dysentery or malaria or any of them other kinds of diseases, which we don't worry about in Williamsburg in 2012.
First world problems.
But these are things. I mean, these are still problems in the world today without zombies. If you go to Africa or places like that, Haiti, which after the earthquake now is having problem with sanitation and having pure water, drinkable water. So I mean, the importance can't be understated. Bleach is good. Water purification tablets. Where do you guys think you could find water?
Water anywhere.
Yeah. One of the
Plants.
One of the best places to find water that nobody ever thinks of, and I didn't think of, and I've been doing zombie stuff for years, and someone told me this, I don't know, maybe it was 3 months ago. Water heaters. You go into any house, and there are water heaters, and if you learn how to pull, and that's water that's not contaminated for the most part. It's been sitting there for a while. You don't know how long, depending on, but it's not contaminated, so it'll take minimal amount of bleach to make it drinkable. Plus, standard house has a what? Well, not the toilet has what, a 200 gallon or 200 gallon water heater, 150 gallon. I don't own a home because it's just something to be attached to. But you figure, I don't know, anywhere depending on the size of the house, from 50 to 200 gallon water heater. That's a good place for you to camp out for a couple days, and eliminate the worry of water, which of course again is going to be, after air, your biggest concern is being able to drink, and that's all I'm talking about. Not talking about shaving or washing. I'm drinking. What does anybody else think of what else would be important to survive an apocalypse?
Tools.
Shelter.
Well, yeah, but with shelter, we're up to fate on that. Unless we've gotten to the end place that we're going to get, and then we start to rebuild society. Yeah, screw that. We'll wait a second on that. But tools. What's important about tools?
Well, you can make whatever you need. So, I mean, if you have the tools to begin with, whether it being a shotgun or a wrench, you can just make whatever you need. Say you need to patch up your shelter, you got something for that. Say you need to actually cook a fire or purify your water, you have the tools necessary.
So, what you're saying is one thing that's more important than the tools. It's the skill to use the tools, okay, or to repair or to build. What do you think? No. I'm trying to draw you guys into that.
I think that it's that's a problem that the apocalypse were to hit, because most people don't have those kinds of skills to be able to use those kinds of tools. People don't get their hands dirty, and they don't know how to do a lot of manual kind of work in which you would have to know how to use tools efficiently. So that'd be a huge problem in the apocalypse.
I think tools would be a luxury if you're going to stay someplace, because tools are heavy, like the water, and if you're gonna have to be on the go, moving from place to place, you're not going to have the luxury of taking the tools with you. I think that and you might not even have the skills to use them. I think that if the big one hits, we're going to be in a situation where it's going to be more recognizing useful items that are around us rather than making what you need, because I don't think you're going to have that luxury.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I'd like to.
One of the most important things that you can be is versatile. If you put all your eggs in one basket, you're going to die. The people who say, a sword is better than a knife, or than a gun, or a gun is better than a blade, they're the ones that are going to die. Carrying both is ideal. So walking around with, a Leatherman multi-tool in your pocket goes a ways, because if you have to break into houses and get things, well, what's going to happen when you're starving? You've got a can of food and you can't open it. Or you have something like, you say your shelter's broken. If you have to cut strips of fabric, you have to have the versatility to do pretty much anything that's thrown at you.
That word versatility is really good for both tools and skills. Can you stand up for a second? Yeah. Now, just turn around because what's really interesting is you see that right there. That is probably really light considering to what you would be carrying if you were walking around in an apocalyptic world. And so that's extremely light. But what's that's a good visual in the sense of everything that you have right there has to be able to do everything you need to do, because you can't walk in here and say, okay, there's going to be a hammer here, there's going to be a saw here, there's going to be a knife here, there's going to be scissors here, there's going to be a wrench, can opener, there's going to be hose, there's going to be rope. You don't know. This is what you got. If this is where we ended up right now, then what we got is what we got. So what you carry with you is extremely important. Versatility. A lot of the bat. The bat's great. It's a great hand-to-hand weapon for a zombie that's coming on. Me personally, I prefer a crowbar because with a crowbar, with a crowbar, I can kill the zombie. I could also pry open the door, or shift some big rock that's in the way. I could pull rusty nails out with the end. It's versatile, which is what's important. When it comes to skills, the same thing, versatility, to be able to use your medical training in other ways. You learn how to put on a bandage, let's say. Okay, well, that's the same kind of skill that you might need to wrap up a pipe to keep water flowing from one place to another. Okay, and I know that kind of sounds silly, but sewing up stitches is the same kind of skill you need to go and sew up clothes, because the clothes you have are pretty much going to be the clothes that you're going to have for quite a while, especially us larger people.
Vice versa too, right? If you can stitch up clothes, it means you can stitch up your wounds. So.
Well, yeah, you can, but there's a squeamish factor that comes into when you're sticking the meat back in. You don't have that a lot when you're sewing up a shirt. So you're all right.
Usually your costumes don't scream back at you.
Though some really do scream pretty bad. But so versatility is another thing that's important in surviving. What does everybody here think? We'll start with the panel first. Goes down, we're escaping. Ideal size of a group?
I'd say small-ish. I mean, obviously you don't want to go solo because then you die. You don't want to go 2 people because you can't send people out to look for things reliably, because then you're back to 1 and you will die. I guess 4 is the absolute smallest I'd want to go, because that way you can have 2 groups of 2. Nobody's ever alone. You can send 2 people up to scout, so 1 person can come back if need be. But I would say probably no bigger than 5 or 6, because if you get to be that big, then trying to carry enough food and water and supplies for all of the people there, if you're carrying, I mean, like you said, they're carrying water is kind of heavy anyway. I believe it's 8 pounds to a gallon of water. But still, if you've got 5 or 6 people, that's about the upper bound, because any more than that, you've got to really worry about food. Unless everyone packs, those trail mix bars that are, 1 bar for a day, which, no. But yeah.
I was going to say I wouldn't want a group smaller than 5. I think 5 would be good, and I wouldn't want to go bigger than 9 or 10.
Why?
Well, if you get too big, then you create noise, and that could be a hazard. Attracting yourselves to other zombies. I think with 5, you can have you can divide people up into certain roles and responsibilities, and 5 people I think would be enough to cover foraging for food, and someone who can do mending and work with tools and all that stuff.
I think about 6 would be ideal, and it's exactly for that division of labor. And not only that, but you're in a crisis situation, and so you're going to have sort of a round-the-clock watch, right? So now you have at least 3 people to guard 24 hours a day, and you can rest other 3. And bigger than 6, I think you get into weird group dynamics, and then you start to have schisms and division among the group. So,
What does anybody here think?
4 to 6.
4 to 6? Why?
Everyone's thinking about after the fact, like guarding your camp and stuff like that. But what about when you're on the move? Although cars may not be the best thing to use in a lot of situations, what if you happen across one? In most cars, you probably squeeze 6 people in there, 7 or more. Someone's going to be either on the roof or left behind. What if you have to cross a body of water? You find a small boat. You have to think, what are the chances of finding 1 boat? Not that great. What are the chances of finding 2? You're not going to.
Even less. Go ahead, Christian.
I consider one thing and one thing only.
What's that?
Protection. In medieval times. Get armor.
Armor.
Yeah.
You know what? We're gonna talk about armor, clothing here in a little bit. But let's stay with the. Thank you for that, because help me move this along here. What do you guys think about size of your group?
4 to 6.
4 to 6. One of the I personally would go with 7, and I would hope, But one of the reasons is for exactly like Bob said, that watch rotation. I used to be on submarines, and I actually learned a lot about what it would take for survival from being on submarines. One of the things was
on aircraft carriers.
Yeah.
We were talking about that at work the other night.
Yeah.
About how if an outbreak was to happen on a carrier, how you would quarantine and. It'd be hard on a submarine, but you can.
Well, no, when you just you shoot them right in the head, throw them in the freezer. But that's we can go. We can go.
I digress.
Yeah, but that's.
But you don't really have passageways that you can shut off like you can on a carrier.
Yeah, we do.
You do?
Yeah.
Yeah, they have more. Because
Yeah.
they have to be airtight.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, we can lock one. We can lock one in and be done with it forever.
Okay.
But that's neither here nor there. 7 is good because you assign 3 people on that watch rotation, 8 hours of watch, 8, 16, 24. There you go. They rest the other time. And then you've got the 4 people for division of labor. 7 is also good because each one can concentrate on learning a skill. One takes auto mechanics for if you have a car and learning how to fix it. Another one can take gardening and horticulture because you will be living off the land. A lot of what you eat are going to be the berries and the roots and roaches and rats and all of that other great stuff that's full of protein that you wouldn't eat right now. Another one could be your medical person who would take charge of learning all the medical names of all the things we take for granted, so that when you do come across a pharmacy, that you could go in there and take the antibiotics that could help you out, and take the pain relievers that could help you out, and leave the stuff for, rectal itch. Which you don't need.
I think, and I understand division of labor, and I think that would help a group survive. But you also still have to keep in the back of your head versatility, in that if that one guy is studying up on antibiotics, in case you come across it, he needs to share that knowledge.
Oh no,
with the rest
yes.
of the group. He can't be the only guy.
No, and that was one of the things, and that was one of the things that was important for us on submarines, which was that everybody had a job, but you learned other people's jobs, because if you're 12 miles off the coast of nowhere, and somebody dies, you throw them in the freezer. You don't leave station to go and ship the body away and call in a helicopter. No, you throw them in the freezer, you finish doing what you're doing, and when you come back, you thaw them out, and then you give them to his family. And when somebody died, you didn't have the luxury of having somebody come in with his job specialty. So I was a yeoman, which pretty much was a secretary, yet I did quartermaster work, so I was able to guide the ship through charts. I did sonar tech work, so I would put the headset on and listen for contacts, see if there were Russian subs out there. I did torpedo man work. When I was in Bosnia, that was part of what I did, was set up our torpedoes to get our missiles to shoot out. I did machinist mate work, and my main job was a secretary. But we had that versatility. You had to learn the basics of everybody else's job, because if somebody died, somebody could fill in until you can get a replacement. It would be the same thing here. Everybody would have a specialty, but you would have to make sure that everybody knew the basics in case something happened to you. Yes, ma'am.
It's nice to think about how you structure the perfect group, but I mean, post-apocalyptically, either you're going to leave someone and let them die, or you're going to let them join your group. So it's going to be who you come across. And if you have a whole bunch of people, and you can split them out. But
Well,
it's not like you can plan this stuff out.
No, but you can't. But you can plan out your initial group. Hopefully, if your family, like your family.
Then that's what we've got left. We've got the one.
But that's if I'm talking about if we're here. I'm talking about when you start, when you make your contingency plans. I mean, you can make it with a group. It doesn't mean it's going to happen, because if you're at work and this person's in school and it goes down, but then again, it could go down on a weekend when you're all there.
So that's one thing to keep in mind.
No, I just said it depends who's alive.
Right. Well, that's
You
after.
kinda
Right.
have to work with what you've got.
Right. Right.
Yeah, we're talking about like physically surviving. We're talking
Yes.
about like, okay, yes, we're going to do this, this, and this. People deal with stress differently.
Oh.
If I were on a submarine and one of my men had died, I would break down. That is a small compartment. I'm close to those men, and if I shove them in a freezer, he's still there. Oh my God, my grieving period would be like a million times longer. It is important to focus on survival, but I think something that we might be missing here is taking the time to like focus on our minds ourselves, because we're gonna, like you said, if it all goes down, I'm gonna be at work, my mom might be at school, maybe my 11-year-old brother's gonna be at school, and I can't go pick him up. I'm going to find people along the way that I don't know, that I'm probably not going to relate to, except for this moment that is happening right now. We're going to have to put up with things. We're going to have to brush things off. Or you're just going to have to express yourself so that you can develop these relationships with these people that you're going to be stuck with. I know that it's like end of the world, but I think that's the perfect word to fit in with this type of demographic that's going to be like being.
Well, that's real interesting. What both of you bring up is because one of the things that you don't see a lot of a focus on in any kind of apocalyptic thing, especially when it comes to zombie apocalypse, is the mental aspect of what it takes to survive an apocalypse. About if you see your loved one bit, are you ready to put a bullet in them? And how is that going to affect you later on? The baggage that we all have, and we all have baggage, how you carry that into a post-apocalyptic world, and how that affects the trust you're going to have to make with strangers if you decide to hook up with a band of survivors. Because after... I say week 3, week 4, your biggest worry is humans. It's not zombies. If you've survived 4 weeks of a zombie apocalypse, you know how to get around the zombies. That's not the issue. Unless you're stupid and you make a stupid mistake, you're not going to die because of a zombie after 3rd or 4th week. You're going to die because of an accident, because of illness, or because you're killed by a fellow human. So the mental aspect really, really is one of the most overlooked things of any apocalyptic scenario. But it's twice as important if you look at it from a zombie aspect, because the zombie scenario is the only one that I can think of. And you can go by any zombie, whether it's a contagion zombie, whether it's a virus, whether it's the radiation, Night of the Living Dead, 28 Days Later. The zombie scenario is the only apocalyptic scenario that I can think of where you might have to do harm to somebody you love. The threat from somebody you love is as great or greater than the threat from another human.
It's almost like you really have to develop forgiveness in yourself in that aspect. You're meeting meeting these new people. They're still human. You have to develop your own trust. It's like, this is a team. This is my team. You're going to have these skills. We're going to develop something for you. And we all, on our breaks, maybe you could take the time to read, draw. Keeping something like of a creative media like that, I think, would be important. Just to like set your mind free, just a little break. Because I understand.
I would like to think that you'd have the luxury to do that, but I think have you guys all heard of Maslow's hierarchy of needs?
Yes.
Right. You got to start there.
Yeah.
You got to once you have those things covered, then the other luxuries follow.
So I guess I am kind of thinking more in the long terms when the group is finally getting settled.
Right, but satisfying those needs, the group and the group dynamic and the roles people play, those are all just a means to an end, and that end is surviving, i.e., satisfying Maslow's hierarchy of needs.
Right. But what if after that you really you find yourself you're pigeonholed, like all these people around you are disagreeing with you, and it's just like you have to survive. You can't leave this group.
I think if those problems crop up, you've been successful.
Management and leadership, and
Speak up, please.
Shackleton took a banjo, wasn't it? I mean, it's necessary to, and whiskey. You have to have some way for people to let off steam, or else they'll end up killing each other. So yeah.
In organized silos.
Speak. Could you speak up to make sure everybody over here, please?
Organized silo level of leadership. So it's defined so people know who to go to when there's issues, whether it's multiple layers or just a single final, end leadership result. But if it isn't defined, then it's going to be just chaos sooner than later.
Yeah, Shackleton's a great example. I'm glad you brought that up.
Let's talk about weapons for a second. What do you think would be an ideal weapon for a zombie apocalypse? And we kind of talked about this. Yes, Christian.
A samurai sword.
Be awesome if you can get an authentic one. But if you buy a samurai sword like here, I wouldn't use that.
I have an argument against samurai sword, but I have an argument against samurai swords, but that just goes on, and is a peeve of mine.
Oh, okay. Well, what are some of the other weapons?
Something bludgeoning, like you had said, with a crowbar that you can use for other things. I mean, everyone would love gun right away, but where do you find ammo, and how many of us really know how to use them?
Well, and then there's the noise factor involved with that. You fire off a gun, and then any zombie within a 2 mile radius is going to hear that.
That's one of my biggest pet peeves. You want to talk about pet peeves? Is and I've got plenty of friends who are like, I'm ready for the zombie apocalypse. I've got 14 rifles, 8,000 rounds of ammo, and and the reality is that I look forward to that guy. I look forward to that guy because I'll go, look, there are the zombies. And I will walk the other way. I'm not going to run. No, I'm not. I will walk. There's no need to run. Absolutely. If I personally go by the traditional George Romero zombie, because if you add anything to that zombie, we're not going to make it.
Yeah.
If they're fast, if they can climb, if they do backflips, if they brush their teeth, if they do anything other than shamble and eat, we're screwed. So I go with that zombie.
How well can they sense you?
Huh?
How well can they find you?
That's that.
Because that also plays.
It'll play into it. Let me finish. Let's go with it, but bring that back up in a couple seconds. Two of the biggest weapons, and this is like one of my hugest pet peeves in pop culture. And I brought this up yesterday. Is to survive the zombies are coming is a shotgun and a chainsaw. And I love that all you guys laughed, because that means you guys know it's just as stupid. You think it's just as stupid as I am.
How many can start a chainsaw on one pull?
Oh my god!
Well, you're not going to start it. I mean, if it comes through the door right now, however long it takes till it gets here before it starts, and
and then you're going to be too tired.
And your multiplier results is faster than
That's the key question.
Well, we'll go with that one back just so you can finish up the weapon thing. I personally believe the only reason I would carry a shotgun and I would keep 2 rounds in it, because shotgun ammo does end up becoming heavy if you carry it for a long time, is for the human factor. Okay? Because there's 2 sounds that will stop a human in his footsteps. The first one is that exactly. And the second one is the sound of a collapsible baton that zip. When you get that, that'll stop anybody, any living person. So the only reason I would ever carry a shotgun is that if I see people coming, is to do that rack to stop. As far as the zombies concerned, no. They don't care. But not only that, again, it takes a lot to carry the ammo. It gets heavy after a while. People, psychologically, there is nothing that will shatter a person's confidence more than to shoot at something and see it keep coming at you. Well, anybody who's ever shot a gun knows it's not easy to hit a target. It's even less easy to hit a target that big. It's even less easy to hit that target that's big while it's moving. Ask anybody who's ever been in a gunfight. Any cop who's been in a gunfight. Odds are good. They'll tell you the two guys at this distance and they've shot 8 rounds at each other and missed each other. Being 10, 15 feet away. Because the adrenaline's running up, and so you got all of that. Now, picture yourself here: a zombie's coming, and you've racked that shotgun, and of course you didn't aim it because we all know that when you shoot a shotgun, you shoot it from down here. Because the shotgun is extremely phallic, so we put it there, and you get that, and you blow a nice hole in the chest of that zombie, and it takes a step back because of the force, and then it keeps going. Oh, man. Not only are you going to die, you're going to die smelling like poop because you just pooed all over yourself, So as far as automatic weapons are concerned, you want to keep weapons that are quiet, okay? You might want to carry a shotgun for the human factor. Same reason you might want to carry a pistol for the human factor. But for the most part, I would carry bludgeoning weapons or cutting weapons.
You've all read World War Z, the Max Brooks book? I thought the weapon that they made for the Army, which they developed, it was like they developed
the shovel,
a specialized... It was sort of like a trenching tool / bludgeoning weapon.
Yeah. Yeah, the Lobo, that's what it was called.
That would be my ideal zombie weapon right there.
Yeah, it's versatile. You could use it for several things, and it's great. You brought up splatter.
Which weapon depends on whether or not you need to keep their blood off of you. Because if you're going to use a sword on them, it's going to get all over you.
It can.
Sword on them, you have to cut through.
And you have to get really close to them.
You have to be strong enough to do that too.
If you can cut through 100 skeletons in a row, you should stop being Superman.
Yeah. That was going to be the next thing I bring up, because people like me, I am not strong, in the amount of force needed with a bludgeoning weapon, I don't know.
But the other thing that's important is you don't need to kill the zombie.
You just need to stop it.
You just need to stop it from advancing at you faster than you can advance away from it. So you don't need to cut a zombie's head off. If you can hit it in the knee, what's good to take any one of us down right now is a good knee shot. Same thing with a zombie. This is zombies still has the body still is going to be the body, and it's going to react. If you take the knee out, they're going to drop. If you break its back,
on the ground.
Yeah. I think, well, if you're the Black Knight, it's only a flesh wound. But for you don't have to attack and kill every zombie you come across. That is the worst thing you can do. Exactly. The whole thing is to avoid them. That is how you're going to survive, at least the zombie portion of the zombie apocalypse, is to avoid them. A lot of people have had problems with this season of The Walking Dead, the second season, because they go, there's not a lot of zombies. God, I don't see zombies. Well, that's a good thing. That's why there's a second season and they're still alive. It's because you don't see the zombies, because they're avoiding the zombies, which is what you're supposed to be doing, is avoiding them. So if you see, again, a zombie coming through that exit door, I'm walking out through here. I'm not going to go charging at it with a chair. Oh, God, everybody save yourselves. No, I'm not sacrificing myself. Oh, dude, zombies, man. That's what I'm going to do. The second zombie. The first one, I'm going to, oh, shit, zombies. Poop my pants like everybody else. Oh, shit, they're real. What did my nugget say? But, as far as conflict with a zombie, you want to avoid it. There's no sense trying to defeat every zombie you come across. That's just the way to kill yourself. Infection. Let me hear what you guys think about it first before I go for another 40 minutes talking about it.
I think it also goes into what folklore I guess you want to follow. If you want to follow the Romero school of thought, it wasn't the blood necessarily; it was the bite that infected you. If you watched 28 Days Later, it was the blood. It didn't matter. You could get a drop in your eye, and
you wouldn't necessarily know.
yeah.
As far as that goes, I like the old Dawn of the Dead zombies.
So
That was
the
radiation.
If you're
George
dead,
Romero.
You're rising as a zombie. Doesn't matter if you got bit, got blood, or lived your entire life without. Once you die, you're rising as a zombie.
It's kind of like Fido. I don't know if you're
Yeah.
That's a great movie.
And then, like utilizing
Zomcon.
Okay.
And then you can have them.
So
We're all already infected by that thought that it's something airborne and
Right.
in the water, and it takes death to manifest itself instead of a bloodborne pathogen.
now, let's just take that for a second. We'll cover both of them. Okay, let's cover it. Let's start with that. One of the things that we would have to do if it's already in the air, and it's just a matter of us dying and coming back. One of the things that we would have to do is we have to be prepared to ensure that whoever's in our group dies doesn't come back.
And anyone who dies needs to be made dead.
Well, that's
Kill them until they die to death.
right. Yeah, like Motorhead says, killed by death.
More than mostly.
You'd have to ensure that. Now, to ensure that, it would be two things that you would have to consider. Number one is you'd have to be able to get over the psychological part of defiling this body, which was a loved one. Okay? I don't know about you guys, but my girlfriend's here, and if she dies, I don't want to put a stake in her head, to ensure that she doesn't come back.
But you would if you had to.
Honey, I'm saying that for the group. I'm saying that for the group. I would do it in a heartbeat.
He's already gone.
That said, 3 months in, once you're with your group, I fully expect anyone in my group would kill me if I started turning. They'd expect the same.
I mean, that's a psychological thing that goes into playing to the mental aspect of things that we would have to learn to get to do if we're going to continue. Yeah, except you. Yeah, but there's one thing about cremating. There's another thing about you taking a hammer and a spike and going, or a drill or any other thing.
By that point, you'd be a little used to death. By that point, you'd be a little bit used to death.
And
then you would have to see someone that you love coming back as dead, as more foul than just shooting him in the head after they've been there.
Right.
I think we really underestimate the emotional factor of all of this, because when you asked the group size question, in my head I went, okay, logically 3 to 5. Realistically, I'm a preschool teacher, and I would have 27 children following behind me. Ineffective group.
Right.
So
that's a group of. So in other words, you've got a group of 28 zombies. 27 of them who are that big. But that's one that mental aspect of having to ensure that your loved one stays on the other side, stays down. The other aspect is, and this is another thing that plays on the mental part of it, is the fact that you can never be alone. Everybody in your group has to be able. You have to have at least 2 people everywhere at all times. Because if something happens to one, that other person has to ensure that person who died doesn't come back.
Buddy system of death.
Yeah, and that's exactly what it is. A minimum of 2 of you everywhere.
You have to really trust people to do that, though. I mean, like, if you're having a problem with someone in your group, where to the point where you think that person might just shoot you and tell the others that you were turning into one.
then you really have to trust people to be able to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Or if you're partnered up with mush balls, like apparently us. Well, if I die, they're not going to take me out.
Because they love you. Aww. And you know what? That's a nice tie-in back to what you initially said. As we got about 10 minutes. About 10 minutes. Love.
Yes. All you need is love.
Can you wait? That's all.
Can you wait the zombies out?
Yeah, like eventually, if they're like the literal to the Walking Dead, eventually they're going to start decaying and not be able to walk anymore. Or if they're the kind that eat stuff, eventually they're going to starve.
I am.
They run out of things
Well,
to eat.
if you're talking about the 28 days later zombie, which are actual humans, yeah, you can wait them out. I mean, all you got to do is keep enough food and water in your house, and barricade it, and wait a month.
Well, if you're talking dead zombies,
Those are reanimated dead.
Yeah,
If we don't talk about them, because we will not survive them.
Yeah.
I can't outrun you for a block. I'm not going to outrun a zombie sprinting at full speed for 8 miles. No.
We actually had an argument about this on the way here today. 'Cause he was talking about, well, if they keep eating, then they don't decay. And while that's not my favorite zombie group, if that happens again.
Well, again, that would depend. See, I stay with the Romero zombie because it's a known entity, okay, and that's where all other zombies sprung from.
I personally love the Max Brooks zombie.
The
World War Z.
World War Z zombie.
Yeah.
Essentially, it's
essentially
the same. Yeah, pretty much the same. But
different sensory capabilities.
but the thing is, if you go with the regenerating zombie, at some point they're going to end out of food. Their food supply is going to end. You'll have pockets of survivors wherever they are. Okay, the majority of the zombies are going to waste away. Okay, how long? Who knows? I personally think that the elements would do more damage than actually rotting.
World War Z goes into that a bit
Yeah.
about the winters ending up freezing the zombies because I mean humans are mostly water.
Whereas the tropical areas, the decomposition increased a lot.
Yeah.
Right.
The ones that are below Dewey.
Right. Well, see, one of the reasons that we're able to last so long is that we can think. So if there's the option of pushing that door open or breaking the glass and walking through it, we will push the door open because we know that by pushing it, the glass is not going to shred into our skin. Okay? Zombies will walk through the glass. And they will walk through brush, and they will walk through all kinds of things that will start to take away their skin. Unlike us, they don't regenerate. So I think the elements would do more, in the environment, walking around it. Anybody ever walk for a few hours, you sit down because your feet are tired. Imagine never stopping. At some point, you're going to actually just wear your feet away. They would all be, they'd be crawling.
I mean, don't get me wrong, I love sharp things and all that, but in a way you do need, I guess, love. You need a reason to fight. You need a reason to survive. You're just surviving merely for the sake of surviving.
Yeah, it's a
It
comfort.
kind of sucks. You have
It's
to
a
have something
comfort.
to fight for.
One of the
It
things
brings
that
you
I
back to- sorry, no.
one of the things that I brought up last night at our pop culture panel, and I was being completely serious, is that the apocalypse could very well be the only way to bring about world peace. Because
a year later, after it's over,
Well,
some
then,
of the
yeah.
basic human things will start to take over again, and world peace will fall apart.
if once society starts building up again, and then we get into that whole, us versus them mentality within ourselves. But if for the initial outbreak, it's not going to matter, what class you are, what race you are, what ethnicity, etc. you are, because you're going to band together with whoever is around to combine your forces to fight, the
Well, you would hope. You would hope because
Well,
I one of the things
you
I
hope.
always say whenever I do talks is how zombies are not prejudice. You know, you'll never see a redneck zombie see a black person and go, oh, no, you're not. You won't see a Nazi zombie see a Jewish person and go, oh, no. No, they don't care. Okay, so if they don't care, we can't care. You know,
something drastically inhuman to remind us we're human.
Exactly. You need to realize it doesn't matter what you don't like. And again, I always go back to submarines for this, because this is one of the things we learned, was it doesn't matter whether you like this person or not. When an emergency happens, you have to have the confidence to rely on this person. So if you're that prejudiced person and you've been sitting there, you know, bashing whatever it is that you're prejudiced against, and now the shit hits the fan, can you 100% rely on that person? You know? I know that if I'm Puerto Rican, if none of you guys like Puerto Ricans, I wouldn't be so quick to turn to me. You know, if the zombies are coming, like, hey, where's Torres? I'm with the people who like Puerto Ricans. Bye. You know, so that obviously plays into it. Learning to overcome your prejudices and your dislikes of people for what they are versus who they are. But I want to get back to this thing with love, because it's very hippie-ish, and it is. And yesterday I had my Grateful Dead shirt on, so you can understand. But it's important.
Well, I just wanted to point out with the whole love thing. Somebody just asked me the question yesterday. Well, would you want to be around during the end of the world? Like, would you really want to go through it and survive past the zombie apocalypse? And I said, well, I'm a mother. I have a son. Of course I do. Like, it's not about I have to survive. It's about my son has to survive. And, like, that's what it's all about. It's not about...
Repopulation of the earth on your shoulders.
No. It's about, you can do a lot more for your loved ones than you could ever put yourself through without having other people there to care about and to support and to see, something good for, to feel hope for. Mm-hmm. If it were just me, of course I wouldn't care. I'd be like, you know what, I'm not going to outrun these zombies. Let's just, end it now or not even try. But because there are people close to my life who I want to see survive and make it through, of course you find out what you need to do to.
Mm-hmm. I think bringing up hope was, I think that kind of hit the nail on the head with that. What is survival? It is hope. Right. And in and of itself, it's inherent. And once you give up that hope, then you're not going to survive. You're not going to do what you need to do to keep on living.
I was actually going to make another book reference. Day by Day Armageddon discussed the need to keep morale up with little things like shaving or laughing within your group. These were the things that they felt were important, besides all of the standard survival things, to keep people from wanting to kill themselves or just, give up altogether. And also he talked about people coming together that normally would not. In the second book, although I have issues with it, he met up with a terrorist, and him being military, the two of them worked together, and suddenly all of their issues are completely gone. And it's just amazing how a situation like this can make you rethink who you are willing to work with and be friendly to and care about.
World peace.
Post-apocalyptic drum circle at our place.
You had made a comment about drugs, which I want to just bring in real quick. Not so much drugs, but addiction, and how that plays in the post-apocalyptic world. You think of, when you say addiction, you think of the heroin addict or the cocaine addict, the meth head. But that's not what I don't think. I don't think anybody here has to worry about that. I think that the things you have to worry about would be caffeine, nicotine, sugar. I mean, stuff like that. I had a friend of mine, Bob. His sister was 23 years old, was diagnosed as a as a caffeine addict, she was drinking 12 Mountain Dews a day. What? And it's 23, and the doctor said you had to stop drinking it because of the caffeine she was having. Here she is, and I have addicts in my family, and I've seen people go through withdrawals. I saw her shaking like she was on heroin for those first couple days. I just want to, and you sit there. I just want a fucking soda. Can I get a soda? And you sit there looking at her like, no, you can't get a soda. Here, try some cocaine instead. Here, smoke a joint because you can't have a soda. But these are things that we need to think of. And here's one. yeah, exactly. Diet Pepsi is a gateway drug now. But these are things that you got to kind of think of now. And when we talk about surviving an apocalypse. We talk about all these things about hope and love and weapons, but there are things that we can do now that we don't need the group. We don't need to figure out who's going to be there left at the end of the day. So you know what? Cut down to half a pot of coffee in the morning. Break it down to 1 pack of cigarettes a day for right now. But start doing the things right now to wean yourself off. Cardio. Oh God. Yeah. Well, you know what? It is. You know what? Whatever you do, real quick, I'm going to let everybody else say one last piece, but the one last thing that I will say, whatever you do, stop turning to zombie land for their stupid rules. Those rules are going to get you killed quicker than shit. They are. I mean, I'm double tap. I'm telling you not to make noise. They're telling you to make extra noise. Cardio, yeah, it's great. You're going to run around a car 48 times before. Let's be real. You're going to die. Check the bathrooms. Check the back seat. Your car should be locked.
Yes.
Back seat anyway. Yeah. I mean, but just stop turning to that for your rules of survival. Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like since we're at a convention, there are a higher number of people who have this skill. But I feel like sewing is, we talked about that briefly. I feel like sewing is the one skill that's pertinent not only in daily life, but also very pertinent in the zombie apocalypse. Because if you, duct tape. No,
apocalypse now.
Yes.
Right on.
Yeah,
we're
wrapping it up right now.
Okay.
But yeah, learn to sew, because not only can you fix your clothes, you can sew your arm back up if you gash it on something. If you can get over the squick factor.
And find some way to.
Well, if you're a zombie, you don't have any squish factor.
No, we're not. We're talking about surviving zombies. If you're a zombie, we're just gonna put a bullet in your head and be done with it. Yeah. Let's wrap it up.
Oh, is it like final words, final thoughts?
Yeah.
Okay. Good luck.
I always have a saying. I always say, I read a lot and therefore I'm dangerous. Read, prepare, know something.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You're absolutely
Cool.
right.
All right. Thank you guys. We appreciate you guys sticking around. Hope you guys have fun. Enjoy the rest of the con.
Thank you.